So I started to make a list of some of the things that I've been using that have made my life better. Some of them are things that cost a little bit of money. None of them are super duper expensive, and some of them are free. And I'm sure you guys will be able to chime in. Number one on the hit parade, especially for those of you who are in a heat wave, is this electrolyte drink mix, LMNT, also known as Element. It's a little sachet. It comes like, they're like this, and they come in different flavors, and it's an electrolyte drink mix. So you add it to water. There's another one out there called Liquid IV that's quite popular. You might have seen that. I saw it at Costco the other day, but this one doesn't have any sugar. Liquid IV, I think, has quite a bit of sugar. So this is 60 milligrams of magnesium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 1,000 milligrams of sodium. I first found out about this in my long haul COVID journey, which continues to be long and haul-y and COVID-y. Acupuncturist I was working with suggested, he said, how much water do you drink? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm single-handedly responsible for the drought in California. I drink so much water. And he says, yes, but how much salt do you eat? And I was like, oh, not very much, because I don't cook with salt very much. And he's like, yeah, you need salt so that your body can hold on to the water, especially your lungs. And he suggested just making a little handmade concoction with some salt and some sugar and put it in water. So I was like, oh, that's okay. And then I was somewhere and saw these and I thought, oh, it's salt, but with flavor, that seems better. So it comes in a bunch of flavors, orange and citrus. And then they've got like mango habanero or lemon habanero, mango chili. There's a chocolate one if you don't like the citric acid. And so then I started, and I really like them. And I started talking about them with friends. And I have a friend who's a long distance cyclist. She's like, oh yeah, workout recovery, magic. I have a friend who gets chronic migraines. She's like, magic. Just heat, dehydration, headaches, hangovers. You can just put it in water. You can also, they have recipes. You can put it in food and things. You can use them in cocktails. I have a friend who's diabetic who puts it in cocktails, because then he can, with the orange one, like orange and vodka, he can make like a screwdriver kind of a thing, but with no sugar. So Veronica's put the Amazon link up there. That's an Amazon referral link. So if you use that link, I'll get literally pennies, but you can also just go to drinklmnt.com. This little sachet goes into 16 to 32 ounces of water because it's hella salty. So I'm used to it now. I can do it in a lot less. I actually sometimes put 2 in this size container. Delicious. And so then a couple of weeks ago, I went to the long haul clinic at Yale, learned even more about my long haulness. It turns out I have POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, something. That's not it, but it's something like that. POTS. What it means is when you go from lying down to sitting up or sitting up to standing up, your nervous system does not send the message that the blood needs to come to your head and your heart. So you get dizzy and lightheaded and palpitations. And apparently Bethany Frankel has POTS too. So, I'm in with the cool kids. One of the solutions for POTS is hydration and sodium. So they're like, oh, we want you to have 3 or 4 of these a day. So that's 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams of sodium a day. Obviously, I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. I am not a medical practitioner. Please consult your local medical practitioner. This is completely personal, anecdotal. Legal disclaimer. And I have to say, so I've started drinking 3 or 4 of these a day, which is, I have to say, a bit of a project. But I do feel a lot better. So LMNT margaritas, exactly. Yes. Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Yes. I did say it right. Oh, Veronica said I said it right too. Okay, good. Yeah. So there you go. So, but it's also, like I said, great for headaches. Great. If you order the little sample pack, it comes in this little envelope, and you get to try a bunch of the different flavors. That's one, is this LMNT thing. Like I said, unless you have some sensitivity to sodium, I recommend it highly. I also, one time, this is a little, have I told you guys the story? I was doing a speaking gig in Banff, which is incredibly gorgeous. I'd say it's like a postcard, but no, postcards are like Banff. And they served us lunch, and they gave me a bowl of something that threatened to be tortilla soup. And I'm like, tortilla soup in the Canadian Rockies. Okay. And I took a sip of it and was like, oh my word, because it just tasted like salt water. Nothing chickeny or tortilla-y about it. One of the conference organizers was having lunch with me, and she's like, oh, do you like the soup? And I said, it's very salty. And she said, oh yes, we do put a lot of salt in our food here because we're at such a high altitude. It's very easy for us to get dehydrated. It's hard for our bodies to retain water. So we oversalt everything so that our bodies can retain the water. And I was like, awesome, bad soup, beautiful country, bad soup. Lori says, I'm going to Banff in August. Oh, for a writing conference. Great. It's incredible. And everyone's so nice. I mean, it's Canada. Everybody's lovely. The second one is so simple. It's a cool cloth. Just run a cloth under some cold water, run your wrists under a cool faucet. I read a lot of those Little Women, Little House on the Prairie, Pioneer Girl books, and a lot of the medicine in that is either a hot compress or a cold compress. And I just have, I feel strongly about the calming effects of a cool compress. If you're hot or someone you know is hot, bring them a cool cloth. See if it doesn't help. Maybe I remember it from a child too. Maybe my grandmother used to, and I'd get all upset, sensitive child, I would get upset. And maybe that's why I like it so well. But anyway, Microblessing, cool cloth. Veronica says we have wet scarves at Ren Fair. They're often secretly filled with ice from backstage. Yes. Yeah. And for a long time when I was getting hot flashes, I would either tuck a ice pack down at the base of my back. You guys, I was doing these Facebook Lives with literally with ice tied to my back. I also got one of those Serena Williams like tennis scarf things that you make them cold and you make them wet and they stay cold. Any version of that, but especially cool on your pulse points is very nice. Third on our list of micro tips is really good sheets. You know, there's a company I love called YaYa Company, and they have these really nice, really thick, organic cotton sheets. They have them in linen, they have them in and they're just delicious. I think for what they are, they're quite reasonably priced, but you know, they do cost some money. But man, are they good, and they wear like iron. They wear like iron. And boy, slip it in between cool sheets on a hot night, nothing's better. And then also making your bed in the morning, whatever sheets you're using. Like I know somebody's got a book out about like it's entitled something like Make Your Bed, and it's about these little things you can do to have a better life. And it is true, you know, and I just do a top sheet and a duvet. I learned how to, you know, do hospital corners and stuff as a girl, but I don't do that now. But it is nice. And it's nice for the sheets, I think, to have some time of not being all squunched up and sweaty and hot all day, to like give them a little chance to fluff up. Is it just me that anthropomorphizes my sheets? I anthropomorphize everything. I think my sheets have feelings, and they like it better if they're fluffed up. That's what I think. Oh, switch to bamboo sheets and love them. Okay, good. Number 4 on my hit parade of micro blessings is reconnecting with an old friend. And luckily, social media makes this so easy. Like people that you think, oh my God, we haven't talked in 20 years. Yeah, but you've been kind of keeping an eye on each other, right? So you're not as far apart as you think you are. And I just had a long talk with somebody that we sort of worked together for a while, kind of butted heads sometimes when we worked together. And then I hadn't talked to him for a while, and we just reconnected, and we just had the loveliest conversation. And he was a lot more vulnerable than I remember him being before. He's, you know, been through it a little bit. We all have. But I just want to remind you not to let your natural shyness, for me to remember not to let my natural shyness get in the way of me saying, hey, I'd love to chat. You know, do you have 20 minutes? Do you want to hop on a Zoom or hop on a call or have a little virtual coffee date or wine date at the end of the day? It's really, really nice. I also had a long talk with my best girlfriend in Chicago, you know, and we just did one of those things where we spent an hour just going, you know, and just those people in your life who've known you for so long, don't care what you look like, don't care who you're married to, don't care. Like they're yours, they're with you. That kind of relaxation, that kind of connection is something we've all been a little starved for, I think, increasingly, even post COVID. Reconnect with somebody that you can be vulnerable with. That's what I seek. Reconnect with someone with whom you can be vulnerable and with whom you can receive their vulnerability, you know? And obviously we want to be careful who we do this with, because some people cannot receive your vulnerability and some people will not be vulnerable with you. So exercise good judgment, but try it today. Here's another one that I think is a total game changer. I was getting leg cramps at night. So I went to Dr. Google, and Dr. Google said, magnesium. I was like, awesome. Now, magnesium is good for all kinds of things. It's good for your heart. It's good for your digestion. It's good for sleep. It's good for your bones. It's good for a lot of things. And there's different kinds of magnesium that you want to take that's better for different situations. So as I'm doing my little magnesium research, I find somebody says, oh, they love this Neuro-mag, magnesium L-threonate. This magnesium apparently crosses the blood-brain barrier and is highly effective for treatment-resistant depression. Oh, I'm in. So it's 3, I was telling somebody, they're like, are they big pills? I'm like, they are kind of big pills. And you take 3 of them a day, but they're not so big. They're just like this. So, you know, not terrible, but what a difference. And like most things that help with depression or most medication in my experience, that helps with depression. It's not like you're suddenly all super yippee skippy, but it kind of puts a basement on the house, and it turns down the volume on those speakers of self-loathing chatter. And I've been so grateful for it during this long haul COVID situation, because if I were feeling as physically poorly as I have been feeling, and in a pit of emotional despair, that would not have been a good combination. Luke was having a bit of a poor spell. I don't think he would mind me telling you that. I hope not. And so I said, well, maybe try it. Like he is. He kind of was like, 2 or 3 weeks later, he was like, I think that stuff is really making a difference. Like, I know, I told you. And it's magnesium. It's not, even if it doesn't help treatment resistant depression, it's not going to hurt you. And here it says it enhances memory and cognitive function. So this is the brand I get, Neuro-mag. And now I just have it on subscription. They send it to me every month. She says he was probably more vulnerable and I was probably more present as me. Yes, that's probably true. Gail says the work that reconnects, Joanna Macy. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Bridget says, is magnesium one of those that needs another vitamin with it to work the best? I don't know. Well, with all this stuff, obviously, do your own research, ask around. Veronica says, you turned me on to that stuff too. I don't like the pills, but it did help me get out of bed when things were really bad. Yeah. Oh, and magnesium lotion is lovely for leg cramps. Very good. So anyway, number 6, 15 minutes. 15 minutes spent on something you care about. 15 minutes spent staring out at the garden. 15 minutes of something that matters to you. 15 minutes of doodling, 15 minutes of disconnecting, 15 minutes of breathing, 15 minutes with your Insight time meditation timer app, whatever you got, just give yourself a second. I hear about people who are like, they feel like they're constantly on the sort of hamster wheel treadmill of being too busy. They get to the end of the day and they feel like they haven't had any time for themselves. So then they're staying up too late, like doom scrolling, like revenge staying up because they feel so sort of deprived in themselves. They're like, I'm going to have some time for me, but it's not really time for them because they're exhausted. And then they're staying up too late and then they're exhausted the next morning, and it just perpetuates. If you give yourself 15 minutes at any point in the day, maybe even at several points in the day, then you're not letting yourself get too hungry for rest. Right? You're not letting yourself get too hungry for self-joy. You're not letting yourself get too hungry for space and time to just be inside of your own brain for a second. And again, enjoy the air and the sun. Number 7 is a little strategic, but when you're going through social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, actually write something. You see somebody's post that you like, somebody you care about, something they say that you dig, write them something back. And if you really want to go for the gold, more than 12 words. We like people's posts. Nobody sees that anymore. Nobody notices that. Way back in the beginning of time, we used to check and say, ooh, who liked my post? But that doesn't. Now it says 36 people like your post. I don't look and see who those 36 people are. And it doesn't really help a post climb in the algorithm. It doesn't show it then to more people. But the more people who comment, particularly using more than just a few words, the more the algorithms of the social media channels will start to go, oh, this is interesting. This is engaging. People are digging this. This is actually cultivating conversation. We're going to show this to more people. You'll be helping your friends if you comment a couple of words on their posts. You will be helping yourself if when someone comments on yours, you comment back, use their name. I just was reading this study on the takeaways from the LinkedIn algorithm report, because that's the kind of nerd I am. Posting is not enough. Nurture your post after publishing and stick around to engage with other posts. Engage with at least 3 posts from your network. Short comments have half the impact of comments that contain more than 12 words. It's also just nice. It's just a nice thing to do. It's right up there with writing a review of a book you love. Oh my gosh, you guys, you saw I promoted Ariel Ford's book, The Love Thief, the other day. I sat down and read it in one session. It's super fun. It's really kind of a delight. It's kind of eat, pray, lovey. There's recipes of Indian food. It's delicious, but it's good. I really enjoyed it. MK says, I wrote a blog post just before I hopped on. I'm loving using Substack to get me back to writing. Yep. So it must be weird. I always check who liked. Maybe I'm the anomaly. Maybe everybody checks who likes and I just don't. Tammy says, also try Life Flow Magnesium Lotion to spray on the feet and legs at bedtime. Okay, good. I have to say, yeah, I haven't gotten any leg cramps since I started taking this. So Julie says 15 minutes first thing in the morning, or my day just doesn't make sense. And now I'm also addicted to the practicum at noon. Oh, the practicum. Oh my gosh, you guys. So we've been running this thing where you can log in every day at 12 noon and get 15 minutes and be like sort of a supervised 15-minute work time. It's amazing. We'll offer it again as part of the next lab session, and we'll also offer it as a standalone product. So make a note about that. Also, coming up, mark your calendars, July 22nd, I'm going to do a little training on how to have sales conversations. It's a bonus for the people in the lab, the people in Turn Your Wisdom into Online Workshops. So I'm also offering it for sale for like $97. And I think it's going to be super valuable. So if you've ever stuttered when somebody says, I'd love to work with you, and you go, or like you can't quite bring yourself to say your prices, it's a really wonderful way to have really great sales conversations. Bridget says, I often do that with emails and blogs, but not often with social media. I may have to rethink that. Yes, writing back somebody's who's emailed you, fantastic. I mean, even if you know it's a broadcast email, that's great. Julie says, I read it in a day too. Yeah, it's not heavy going, but it's really delightful. Sherry says, a different why for this. I started giving comments when isolated during COVID, and it made a huge difference for me. Felt like a covert way to lavish love on people and gave me a huge boost from doing it. Yeah, exactly. Gail says, just gave my service person for my heat pump mini splits a 5-star review and at least 5 lines of praise. That's great. June says, Life Flow is the lotion that I use. Smells lovely, feels good, and works almost immediately for cramps. So good to know. The last little micro blessing I would recommend is good pens. I am a fool for pens. I love all the pens. I buy all the pens. I have buckets and buckets of pens on my desk. I love hopping around. I'm not like, oh, this is my favorite and the only one I use. I do carry several pens with me. I'm the person who, when they goes to the doctor and they hand you the thing with the ballpoint pen, I'm like, it's okay. I have my own pen. And also, why am I still figuring out a paper form? Why don't you just hand me an iPad, have me type everything in one time, and then we don't have to type it in anymore. My 2 current favorites, though, are this Le Pen. You might remember Le Pen from the 80s, right? From the Day Runner. It used to come with the Day Runner. And I also like this one. You'll never be able to read what it says, but this is a Uni Pin, P-I-N Pro in 0.02 that I get from Jet Pens. Jet Pens is heaven for pens. It's one of the things I promised myself when I turned 50 was that I was allowed to have all the pens. I figure it's a pretty low cost indulgence to have a pen I really like. And because I'm such an analog girl and I do tend to write things out longhand before I put them into the computer, it makes a big difference. So we're out of time. I didn't realize this was going to take me so long. I didn't realize I had so much to say about these micro blessings, but this is what I'm doing to brighten up my days, to make my life more comfortable, more cheerful, more luxurious, and in turn to convey that to others. So I hope it's helpful to you. And if you don't dig on these, that's obviously, these are just things that turn me on. Find your own things. Find the things that light you up and make you go like, oh yeah, buying the really good salsa. I love that. Whatever it is, wearing your good jewelry just for no reason at all, or giving compliments to someone, making eye contact with strangers, smiling at them. There's so many things we can do to just make the world better and nicer, right? Make the world better and nicer. So let's do one more breath to close out the circle. Thank you so much for being here. If you're not on my email list, get on the email list, because then you'll get things like the invitation to that sales training. There's also going to be some ways to extend that training if you want to work more closely with me. So keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, stay hydrated, stay salty. And let's see if I think somebody posted something. Love pens. I'm a Muji pen fanatic. Oh, I love Muji pens. Love Muji pens. MK says, I wore my girly dress after I finished moving. Yes, exactly. Tammy, great to see you. Hi, Cherie, great to see you. All right, let's do one more breath. Let's inhale. 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for doing this with me. Have a drink.